Oh, good porn.
It could be StarCraft. It must be. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It's StarCraft too. Because it's top two.
Kids just start with the first picture. Or?
Yeah.
Cheetos and porn.
What might you find on there?
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
I know.
Hey.
Double bomb.
I kind of want to get those books now.
Lots of people do. You get them on eBay. So.
Oh, the real books, I think.
Don't get me started, man. Yeah, Kaz, when you're writing the stories for these, you look at those damn things.
Well, it takes like 2 years to write the story. It only takes a week or so to make a picture.
You should have signed one when I got there. The story about the
Okay.
So anyway, a few years back, I got laid off. And I've been with the company for 10 years, so I was feeling a little depressed. I just turned 50. And at some point or another, I started thinking about, at one point or another, I thought about the fact that Obama had done the Frankenstein cover, and Obama had done all the Doc Savage covers. So wow, I could match those up and have Doc Savage meet Frankenstein. So when I got laid off, I had a lot of time on my hands because I was trying to rebuild my freelance career, which had been gone like really dead since I've been working full time. So anyway, so I found like this was like solace for me was to start messing with this idea to recreate a Doc Savage cover with using the Obama elements. And so this was the very first one I did, and it came out pretty well. So I started working with the titling, trying to replicating the logos, all the other trade dress for the Bantam books, which has become an upset. Anyone can ask you. At the drop of a hat, I'll turn anything into a Doc Savage. And I've actually had people like Michael Bloom has come and requested for me to do a logo for them. And I did one for Scott after Scott had done all the work on his stuff. I said, oh, I got to do that too. So I sent it to him. But it's just a fun thing for me. So the first thing I did was this was like a natural. And looking at it today, I'm realizing I actually have better elements. I've got a better handle on what I'm doing. I may go back and give this cover a makeover as I go along. So this was the first one. The second one, of course, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't think this one succeeded as well as the first one because I was combining disparate elements that weren't really quite gelling. And the painting of Godzilla was a little weird, and the Doc comes from well, what do you guys?
Devil on the Moon.
Devil on the Moon. I figure if I blank on it, you guys will be able to fill it in pretty quick. So, like I said, this one was like people really like the Godzilla Doc Savage mashup, and as they do the next one, which would be the creature.
Hey, Kaz, how are you coming up with the titles? Is that you or?
That's all me. I mean, what it is like I just came up with for one thing, I tried not to use any obvious names, or else I'll use names that are really obvious that fit Doc Savage covers. Like I did the Day the Earth Stood Still. He Could Stop the World. I said, well, it's got to be called He Could Stop the World. So Black Lagoon just sounded more like a Doc Savage title. Whatever it is, it has to sound like it could be a Lester Dent Doc Savage title.
Really? Right.
And so I would come up with these things. And a lot of them had blurbs on the back that I would fumble my way through writing, or I'd get some other people to help me write. Let's see. So the next one this was a natural here as far as matching up Dracula with the Munitions Master cover, because he's like clutching his throat. So okay, that's how he would do it. He'd like be avoiding Dracula thinking his teeth in. So all these were done these were like the first wave where I was not working. I was bummed out about not working, so I threw all this energy into doing all these covers. This is another Obama mashup where it took
The model kit? No, that's a con paperback.
This is a paperback from Con. And so it was just a real natural put together. I don't think, looking at it today, with my eyes, after having messed with doing other covers and being more deliberate than what I was doing, at this time I was just throwing things together. I was just so, I think I can probably do a better job of making this cover work.
How hard was it to get the lettering at the top?
All right. I get a lot of questions from people wanting to know if they can buy the font from it. What I started doing was I just started creating the letter shapes as I needed them for whatever title I was working on at that time. And then I use a program called Corel Draw, which is very good about being able to, like you have the Doc Savage swoop and the logo. I recreated the logo in Corel. It's a vector program. First, you want to explain what vector is again? She was explaining it to Scott this morning.
Go ahead.
But anyway, it's using creating lines between 2 points rather than the other bitmaps. If you blow stuff up, you see the glossiness.
geometry instead of dots.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've seen Star Trek, we know vectors.
All right. So what it is each one of these letters is actually a shape that I would like the old linotype that I used to put in the slugs to create the titles. I do the same thing, and then I have patterns where I can knock them into the pattern to match the swoop, the Doc Savage swoop.
Okay.
Which I got this down to a science after a while, and been modifying the lettering a little bit, and things like that, to the point where I finally started bugging Anthony to let me start doing the bomber covers on his books.
He didn't have to bug me very.
Because I got it down. I know exactly how to do it.
Hey, Kez, just an FYI, and chatting with the interviews I did with Len Leone, who created the Doc Savage logo, he also created that lettering, and then all the books, those were hand done
Yes.
by his department.
And it's and looking back on them, you can see it's very obvious they were all hand done.
Yeah.
Because they're all over the map. As a matter of fact, the trade dress on the books were like, every now and then it'd be like really good, but most of the time it'd just be like they were slapping these things together and pushing them out the door, which is what they were doing as far as producing these books. So go to the next one. This is like a really good one, because that's a really nice Bama illustration of Hyde, along with the doc image, so that worked out really well. And then you got like the weirdness is just trying to do a great big word swoop like that.
Hyde, yeah.
But it just made more sense to call it Hyde. Now this one was like a real first attempt, like just taking a black and white image of Karloff as the mummy and combining it with, this is like the yellow cloud, I believe.
Was there a reason you didn't use the Bama cover for the mummy?
Now, at the time, I really hadn't connected the Bama model kits with Bama. You know, I mean, it's like, I really want to go back, I want to use the creature one, I want to start matching those up. Because I did use them later, like for some of the Frankenstein stuff I did later. Like the Bride of Frankenstein and stuff like that, where he done paintings for. So this is like, again, I look at it now and it's kind of there, but I can probably run it and mess with it some more. I actually have all the files I made.
Hey, Kaz, another thing I noticed that I always enjoyed on yours is that the different logo colors that you're making, and you put the same color up above in the box up above. And you're very creative with that. I always enjoyed those.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm really pissed off because I really want these books down, they're not even real.
Yeah.
Don't be teasing us like this.
That's the sad part.
Those are great.
These will never really exist. Now this one is, I just always like the way that the combination of the colors, because every now and then you get, Bama would do this nice thing where Doc would be this one, this is a lot like that, because like this is from Poison Island. And Poison Island is a very kind of, it was a unique bomber cover because it was not as monochromatic. The Doc was one color, and the rest of the background was another monochromatic progression. So I use that same kind of sensibility to drop in Lon Chaney Jr. back there for this really great black and white still, and drop the moon in behind it. It was just all came together really nicely. So it's like those symbolic Doc covers where he's just there and this other thing's looming. It's just classic Doc. Okay. And this one, this is just kind of, I just ran across this nice illustration of the Invisible Man. I should have figured out exactly who did it, so I could have credited them as far as where the source was, and that's from the Kingmaker, which had the nice foreground image in the background. So I was just, sometimes I'll notice that, like, yeah, that fits that composition really well. I can go ahead and just kind of substitute these elements and you can create this match. And I really think Doc probably would have had something to do with Brooklyn and his madness.
Is that any known specific Invisible Man? Like, is that Claude Rains, or do we
So
know?
that is the Claude Rains one.
Yeah.
It's a Claude Rains one,
Yeah,
and
makeup.
it's like for a videotape reissue or something
Okay.
of the movie that was just done by some artist to get a cover on it.
But so that's really cool. So you've got Claude Rains with Doc.
Right. And this has always been like, a lot of people seem to like this one a lot.
Yeah.
Where
Looks good, yeah. Yeah,
And this-
or Manchu.
right. And
That's
there's
3
always
times
a
you've had
problem.
Boris now.
Hmm?
You keep going back to Boris, that's 3 times now that Karloff has been
Well,
on.
he
Yeah,
does a
well,
lot of
he did so many iconic
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
you know, especially when I was sticking to the classic 30s stuff. It's like it was just appealing to me. And I thought about, of course, Christopher Lee shows up in Fu Manchu later
Yeah.
in covers, but the biggest problem is just trying to get. I'm never quite as successful as I'd like to be by getting the Bama stuff to match up with a live photo. So I need, I didn't quite get Fu Manchu to look as painterly as I could have to make that cover really work solidly. I like it. I like the combination of the two. Plus, I was also experimenting here with creating shapes in Photoshop and then blurring so you get that nice fog and help blend the two together. Now this is just pure me wanting to see this happen.
Right.
It's a Scarecrow Romney mark.
Yeah, I get that.
Love it. And these two really matched up well. I found this illustration somewhere, and I actually did a little filtering on it to get it to look a little more less. It was like from the film itself, and I just did some filtering to get it a little more painterly and make it work better. It ended up working really well. And this story would have to be kind of a weird ghost story for Doc because, of course, Scarecrow happened a long time ago compared to where Doc was operating out of. And most of these covers, I would try to work out some consistent way to have some logical reason for the two to be in the same story together. And there'd be some kind of mystery on Romney Marsh that would have some weird ghostly going on where the Scarecrow would show up during it.
That's what else is there, both good guys.
Yeah.
The grandchild of Reverend Sin or something like that.
Yeah,
Dickerson.
exactly. There'd be some kind of lineage hookup to make it work. So, but that's always been one of my favorites. So this is like one of my all-time favorite setups for Zombie of Bronze. As a matter of fact, I got to use this Zombie of Bronze on Anthony's Men Who Smile No More cover. So it's like that's the title. And of course, that's Bela Lugosi from White Zombie. So
Yeah.
it all worked out really well. That's Red Snow. Now this one has got to be the goofiest, one of the goofier ones. I started doing some strange ones at this point because
Hey, I wrote that down.
The Claw was like one of the worst monster movies ever. But when I was watching it, they had the scene where the Claw was on top of the Empire State Building. I'm going, oh my God, Doc was there. So I had to do a cover with the killer turkey from outer space or whatever it was,
Right.
on top of the Empire State Building. And then, of course, they had to start going through the 50s monster cycle I went through with the Blob. Stealing that from Resurrection Day. I also used Resurrection Day on the Bride of Frankenstein cover. So. This one is very popular with people who like seeing the mashup of the George Powell. It's not the George Powell Doc, but it's the George Powell world. So. This one was very interesting because all this stuff was stuff I did screen caps from the movie to get all these other elements to combine in with the other world. Doc Savage Other World. And so I thought this came out pretty darn well for
Yeah.
taking all these weird
Isn't that Lugosi again?
Yep, Lugosi again.
Yeah. You'll
But
see
Lugosi has the animal down.
Yeah, that's Lugosi right there.
Mhm.
Charles Walton up there. Now this is one of the few ones where I actually flopped Doc because he's facing the other way on the Sea Angel cover. And so like I think don't like to do it because people will spot that. Oh, Doc's been flopped because the shirt's wrong. But I just wanted to have because he had to be tall to go up into the logo. I didn't want to cover up the front part of the logo. So I flipped it over and I thought that just came out really well.
That's a great color tone.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it had to be called He Could Stop the World just because.
That's a Doc title.
And this is one of my absolute all-time favorites right here. And because I'm a huge Godzilla fan as well as Doc Savage. And like everything else I'm doing in my life, it seems like today, I'm filtering my past through my memories of that rather than what the reality was. The reality was Ghidorah is a very stupid monster. He just flies in and destroys things, but he doesn't do anything to actually destroy the world like he's supposed to. And I just wanted to have it where he's show up in one place and start drilling down to the core and blow up the planet. And then Doc's got to be out there trying to stop him from doing it. And so I found this really great spooky image of Ghidorah, and I said that could work with the man who shook the earth. It works really well.